I wanted to share a little bit of my Korean story, KoreanAmericanStory.org. You know, the position of Concertmaster in the Philadelphia Orchestra is probably one of the handful of most important, prominent violinist jobs in the world. And my journey in getting that job 13 years ago began when my parents, like many of your parents, came to this country in the early 60s.
I was born in Seoul, Korea, and I came to the United States when I was 7. And we first moved to Virginia Beach, Virginia. And the reason we moved there was my father had a friend, I think it was a high school friend, that had come to the United States earlier. And I'm not sure if he was the one who actually sponsored our family, but you know, he was there to help us, you know, get started as new immigrants. And so we lived in Virginia Beach, Virginia for 6 months. And my father, who's very entrepreneurial, realized that very soon that not much was going to happen in Virginia Beach, Virginia. So he's actually shared stories about how he came up to New York, and he was so inspired. He said he remembers like walking around Times Square and seeing you know, the guys who push the like in the olden days, you know how they used to have like the supermarket carts and the chestnuts, they would roast chestnuts, and he thought, at least if I was in New York, you know, I could make a living just doing this, right? And so we moved to New York and lived in Flushing, Queens for about, I think 2 years. And then my parents, you know, being very, I think, focused on making sure that my sister and I have a younger sister, got, you know, the best education possible, decided that we had to move to the suburbs. And they found out that, you know, Westchester County had very good school systems, and we moved there.
Surprisingly, I was a good student in Korea. I was studying for the college entrance exam. It's pretty a big deal in Korea. I think it still is. I was aiming for good schools in Seoul, and I was basically studying, you know, morning till night every day, not knowing what's going on, not knowing what my parents are talking about. And just one day, out of nowhere, out of the blue, they decided that they had a question for me. So they basically asked me, can I study Korean? Okay, so they said, oh wait, hold on, I remember. It was something like, 주에 너 더 큰 물에서 놀아보고 싶지 않니? Meaning, like, do you want to be more, you know, exposed to a larger world, larger culture, different culture? So, okay, you know, I have no objection to that. Because I think back then I was pretty fed up with, like, you know, very regimented Korean society, Korean culture, education systems and everything. So I was like, okay. And then even if it meant that I would just drop everything that I knew at the time and saying goodbye to a lot of my friends in Korea, I just kind of, to me, it wasn't something to really object. It was a very good idea, actually. So, and then that means, and then also that meant that I would come here first, to move first, because I'm already like too old. I need to start learning English and start getting used to their school system. I mean, the state school system here in the States. So it's like, okay, then why don't you go first, and we'll follow you the year after when all the paperwork's are in, because we're properly immigrating into a different country. And that's gonna take some time. So why don't you go to the boarding school first, and then we'll follow you, and then we'll live together for next year.
My mother also felt that I needed to be a complete musician, so every morning at the breakfast table she would be turning on records, not just Beethoven or Mozart, but like 20th century opera or 14th century motets, and quizzing me on it. I would be conducting, she would be quizzing me on the date that the composer was born and died, the style of music, the key signature, training my ear. And then I would get home from school. I never had to do any help around the house, never had to do homework, never got to learn how to ride a bike, never learned how to swim, never watched a cartoon on Saturday morning, never celebrated, just the last day of school or Christmas. It was practicing a little bit more today than you did yesterday.
With the children, how do you see them when you look at your children?
I see them as the birth product of their mother and their father. I mean, they are African and they're Asian. They are Black American and they're Korean, all at the same time. And even that doesn't mean what I might think it should mean, or even what she may think it should mean. It's going to mean what they define it in their own life and in their own time. They're actually going to redefine their world the same way that our generation did. Our generation, we're the ones who really made the internet what it is. We really redefined the world in a lot of ways. And I expect their generation to do the same thing. And I want them to be really powerfully strong and proud about both of their lineages and know what that means.
I know the world mostly sees them as Black. And even though if you look at my son, he looks very Korean to me. But to me, I really do see them as Korean and Black. I don't just look at them and think they're Black, but I know that most of society, when they see them, thinks they're Black. Which is fine, and I want them to embrace that, but at the same time, they know I'm Korean. Every once in a while, my daughter will call me Oma, even though I don't speak Korean. I wish I did, but I don't. And they will know, we had their first birthday celebration, the Duru, I don't say anything right, and they had their home box and all that stuff. So they will know as much as I know. I see them as Korean and half Korean and half Black, but actually I kind of see them as wholly Korean and wholly Black, if that makes any sense. And then I'll give them whatever I know, and then hopefully they'll just like themselves.
I'm from a society where being mixed is not unusual, and some children, as they mature, choose to gravitate to one race more so than the other, and more often than not, it's a reaction to the way people react to their parents. If you look more Black, then you become Black. If you look more white, then you become white. If you look more Indian, then you become Indian. But we're trying not to directly affect that, but kind of let it evolve and see where it goes. And we think that we live in a neighborhood that has a very high percentage of interracial couples and mixed kids. And so what we want to let happen is the maturing of these kids in a world that's a little different than what we're familiar with, and kind of see how it goes, and interject when we need to make sure that they don't lose sight of their own history, their own family histories.
I do know how to ride a bike now. I do know how to swim. and Jane and I, my wonderful wife, we have two beautiful daughters who are 9 and 10. And of course, the first question everybody asks is, okay, is Natalie going to be the golfer and Maggie the finalist? But they both love music and both take lessons and all that, and so who knows. I don't think Jane and I have it in us, because it really is all about